Well, it's hard to say in terms of cost, right? There's lots of things that drive cost over a conventional building, right? And so some people will tell you that they can build passive house, at or below the cost of building a code level building, right? Through smart design. And I think this is the sort of the next phase of passive house is the sort of optimization of cost. Sometimes in the early days of the design, people don't always optimize because maybe they don't trust it because it's the first time they've done it. So, I was explaining earlier about the difference in heat energy required for a conventional building over a passive house building, how it's almost a tenfold difference between the two. But some people are like, I'm not going to trust that. So they'll still put the same mechanical system in that they used to do because they're not sure, right? So you have an expensive envelope and you have the same mechanical system. And so at that point, you're seeing premiums of 10 or 15%, right? And so the key premise of passive house and the reason that they set the target energy goals and the heating demand goals that they do set is based around this idea that there's this crossover. There's a point where the mechanical system drastically reduces in size relative to a conventional building, and so they call it the crossover. And when you get to that sweet spot, then you've got one less system. You don't have to run a heating system around the house. And this house is a perfect example, right? Normally, if you were building this house, here in a nice neighborhood, everybody would be putting radiant floor in this house, right? And people would think that's the only way to make it comfortable. Well, a radiant floor system can cost like $20 a square foot easily, right? And there is none of that in this house, but it's perfectly comfortable. All we do is, we're already running ventilation air around the house to keep it fresh, like we talked about. And all we do is trickle in a little bit of heating or a little bit of cooling from a small heat pump into that system. So we have no pipe distribution running around the house. And so we've saved the cost of a whole system. And that money then gets applied to the envelope and the better windows. And you've still got a perfectly comfortable house, right? In fact, it's more comfortable than any other house you'll probably go in. And I think many people will say that the best thing to do, to convince people about passive house is to allow them to go and experience, and be in a building and feel how comfortable, how quiet it is relative to, other houses, because, we block that air out by making it an airtight design, but it also blocks out the noise. And in this house, there's a train tracks running right behind the house, and I always remember James's story. It's James, the homeowner of the house, and the trains used to wake him up every night because there'd be heavy goods trains running by the back of the house, and it would just rumble and it would wake him up. And said now he just doesn't hear them at all, right? And that's just how great that performance is, and we see it in the other projects that we've done in the city of Vancouver. We completed a few years ago a new fire hall for the city of Vancouver, Fire Hall 17, and it's on one of the busiest streets in Vancouver. It's on Knight Street, and people that know Vancouver, Knight Street turns into Clark Street, and that's where all of the trucks come in and out of the city on the way to the port. Vancouver is one of the busiest ports in North America, and so you can imagine how many trucks are moving up and down, moving those containers. Well, you go inside that fire hall, and the firefighters then, the difference between the noise inside and outside, the firefighters, they come back from a call and they're amped up and they need to kind of decompress. And this fire hall it's incredible just how they appreciate that, and they can sleep at night when they need to sort of recover after these, really kind of stressful calls that they end up on. And so, and the same I see in big cities. Anywhere you're in a big city, right, the passive house standard can really sort of help people have a really great quality of life.